Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Business Morning on Sunrise Daily. So we'll do a rounds now in just about 27 minutes. So we'll begin up at the global space where oil prices eased on Monday after rising to their highest since December in the previous session, but we're set for their biggest weekly gain since October. Let's look at the numbers right there. It's a red, down almost 0.5%. We'll tell you the factors driving it, but let's see the prices. Yesterday at this time, we saw that Brent was at $80. It went beyond that, and now dropped 0.46% to settle at $82.05 for a barrel. WTI from the United States, that is, still struggling around 76 $76.86 a barrel, and down even worse than Brent at 76.86%. Now, when we look at the factors driving it, we see that demand sentiment improved after the data yesterday. I know you didn't miss that story of the US GDP grew higher than expectations for the fourth quarter of last year. We also see that Chinese officials, of course, have asked their Iranian counterparts to help rein in on attacks or risk harming business relations with Beijing. However, the Houthis are vying. That's talking about the issue with the Red Sea. That's still on and still a factor when you consider prices of global, both grain and oil. Talking about grain now, Chicago corn, soybean, and wheat futures were a little changed, consolidating near 2-week highs as participants assess South American crop weather and awaited U.S. export data and macroeconomic news for further direction. Looking at the price now, corn on the Chicago Board of Trade was down 0.06% at $4.52 for a bushel. Corn and soybeans have recovered, from multi-year lows this month, while wheat has pulled back. Soybeans is on the flip side. It gains 0.04% at $12.49 for 3/4 of a bushel. And we see their wheat up also 0.1% at $6.11 for half a bushel. Investors are bracing for European Central Bank interest rate announcement, as well as that US growth figures that we had yesterday. The grain market, meanwhile, will be receiving a demand update from the weekly US export sales data later on today. Now, let's come back home and see what's happening with the Naira. Yesterday was another drop, especially in the parallel market. Data gathered from FMDQ, BDC, and ProShare show that the Naira plunged to a new low at the BDC's close. And at the NAFEM, that's the official, 900 Naira 96 kobo. That's not the worst we've done for NAFEM, while BDC's close 1,410 for a dollar. That's is a new low. We also have our eyes on the pound. The pound also yesterday closed at 1,750 Canadian dollar, was just about 1,000 for both BDCs. Now, a very worrying scenario. The implications have been x-rayed. Not today. We've done that even this week on Business Morning. Let's go to X and see some reactions to that Naira. We got a post from Olufemi Awoyemi. He's the founder of ProShare. Right there, he says that well, we know that a couple of days ago, the central bank governor had said that the Naira is undervalued. Well, he says some say it is undervalued, others say it's fair value calculation and is distorted by multiple rates regime. Others say it's hard to even get. Despite all of this, the Naira continues to reflect the productivity levels of the country, not the promises and pondering of public officials. It's economy, guys, not politics. That's the view of Olufemi Awoyemi, the founder of ProShare. We also have the views of Mr. Moghalu. Kingsley Moghalu is a former deputy governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. He said the problem with the Naira is not that it was or has been floated. In any case, we no longer have the oil revenues for various reasons to underpin a managed float with robust foreign reserve. The real failure of the Nigerian economic policy is that of having failed to diversify its economy away from reliance of natural resources. And he goes on to give a solution that the level of political will required to change course is extraordinary and requires a focus on merit and competent technocratic management rather than acronym empowerment based on vested self-interest. None of this actually gives us a lot of hope or a lot of solution, but I mean, these are conversations that's been going on for a while. The BDCs have said, well, why don't you capture both the informal market, into the formal window? Then that might boost supply and we might find a fair value of the Naira. But it's obviously an ongoing one, but a disturbing one, because when we think of the impact of this drop in the value of Naira on businesses, business overhead, operational costs, it remains a source of worry for everyone. Now let's take a quick break. We also have a message in that break. We are campaigning, we are asking the Central Bank of Nigeria that the POS charges have gotten really high and the ATMs are empty. Who is supplying the cash to the POS and leaving the ATMs, leaving Nigerians with no alternative but to face extremely high charges for POS? Why should we be buying the Naira in Nigeria? Very disturbing. Questions to ponder on, and once again we call on the Central Bank of Nigeria to intervene, for the sake of the common Nigerians who are now left with no alternative. The ATMs are dry, and then you have to buy Naira with Naira, buying dollars and buying Naira too in the country, not a very pleasant thing to happen. A couple of days ago at the NESG Economic Outlook launch, we did hear the Central Bank of Nigeria's governor, Dr. Laimi Kadoso, saying that the Naira is undervalued. Well, let's listen to that and set the pace for today's conversation.
Foremost among the factors contributing to this positive outlook is the expectation of improved crude oil prices and production, highlighting the crucial role the oil industry is expected to play in driving economic growth. Inflationary pressures are expected to decline in 2024 due to the CBN's inflation targeting policy, which aims to rein in inflation to 21.4%. This will be aided by improved agricultural productivity and the easing of global supply chain pressures. We believe that the Naira is currently undervalued, and coupled with coordinated measures on the fiscal side, we will expedite genuine price discovery in the near term. We are implementing a comprehensive strategy to improve liquidity in our FX markets in the short, medium, and long term. Our focus is on addressing fundamental issues that have hindered the effective operation of our markets over the years.
All right, well, another important issue is the issue of food security. We remember that July 2023, that the President Bola Tinubu, had declared a state of emergency on food insecurity in the country, gave some orders and some instructions. Have we seen much with that? Now, the Food and Agriculture Organization is saying that this year, 2024, 26.5 million Nigerians will be threatened with food insecurity, grappling for staple food. Those are not pleasant numbers. There you have it, some of those unpleasant figures that we have. Nigeria ranks 109th out of 125 countries when it comes to food security. Score is 28.3 in 2023. Food inflation no longer news at this time, above 30% for December. And remember, that's President Bola Tinubu had said that there's food emergency, state of emergency on food security. I wonder what that means, and if it's done anything since July up till now. We did Christmas and food inflation was still going up, and now it gets worse with the stories of killings in areas that should be providing food for the country. So we have these risks facing the country in 2024 when it comes to food security. Post-harvest losses, about 50% of what we produce is lost because of preservation, lack of value chain, implementation and infrastructure to transport, from farm to gate. Subsistence farming is still a major one in the country. Farmers still use hoe on their farms. Really sad. But let's talk about this. Let's have this conversation with the food and agriculture representative in Nigeria, Mr. Dominic Kofi Kauko. He joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Kauko, thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning.
So FAO has said that about 26.5 million Nigerians will be hungry this year. Could you tell us some of the factors considered to get this figure?
Okay, thank you very much for these questions. But before answering you, I want really to thank the government of Nigeria for the very good and nice collaboration between FAO and the government of Nigeria. I want also to thank and wish Happy New Year for all the Nigerians, especially for the Federal Minister of Agriculture and Food Security and the Minister of State also. Before answering your question and talking about Nigeria especially, I want to put this in the very big perspective. Today, when we take globally in West Africa, according to the result of the cadre harmonisé IPC, we are around 26.5 million of persons in food insecure. And that is not acceptable regarding all that we can do here in West Africa. On these 46.5 million of people, if you take especially Nigeria, today we have 26.5 million according to the last cadre harmonisé that we did in last November. Why we have 26.5 million of people of food security? That is because of three root causes. Unfortunately, the first one is related to the conflict. Today, if I take West Africa, because of the conflict, we have 5.5 to 6 million of displaced and refugees people. Among them, you have around 70 to 80% that were agriculture or livestock. If I come to Nigeria, we are around 1.7 to 2 million of displaced people because of the conflict. And that is very difficult. Today we have some conflict that they are affect more than 10 years that we have a conflict. So they are like 10 years that the farmers and the breeders, they cannot farm. If I want to put it in perspective, that means that it's someone who worked during 10 years without salary. And that is one of the key root causes in our region, especially in Nigeria. The second one is the climate change. If you take in the Sahel region, in the past 20 years, the quantity of water reduced by more than 40%. End of 2022, beginning of 2023, we have the flood issues. In Nigeria, we have around 600,000 of acres of land, agricultural land that are affected. If you succeed to harvest this land, we are able to feed 3.3 million of people because of the floods. So that is the second root cause is because of the climate change. The third root cause is why today we have 26.5 million of persons in food insecurity is the economic shock. In the economic shock, we have three different kinds of shock. The first one was the impact of the COVID. The second one of the economic shock is the impact of Ukraine crisis. FAO, WFP, and ECOWAS, we did a survey of the impact of of the Ukraine crisis in our region. The result was we have a deficit of 1.2 to 1.5 million of fertilizer in the region. That means that we have a deficit for 12 to 15 million of cereals in our region because of the impact of the Ukraine crisis. The last one is the inflations. We can talk about fuel subsidies. We can talk about the funds that move from one day to another that will have a huge impact on the productions. So because of these three root causes that we are facing now, the conflict, the climate change, and the economic shock, in our region now, and especially in Nigeria, we have three kinds of typology of crisis that we have. The first one, we are facing the Sahel crisis. The second one is the spillover of the Sahel crisis on the coastal countries. And the third one is the economic shock. So this is one of the reasons that's why in our West Africa, we have 46.5 million of persons on food insecurity. A month that we have in Nigeria, 26.5 million of persons.
Yeah, and that's a huge number. But I know you mentioned most of them. Yeah, but so let's look at them. I know you said those are the three major root causes. But I wonder which of them should be the focus or the major target of the government when we look at it. Post-harvest losses, subsistence farming, budgetary allocation, quality of seedlings, national security, a major one, transportation and supply logistics. Which of them, talking of moving forward now, which of them do you think, okay, there we have the others, escalation of the Middle East, the tension going on, Russia's withdrawal, we know this affects our grains, interest rate hike, because every business is affected by then, the cost of funding. Currency fluctuations, we just hit a new low at the parallel market yesterday. Long-term impact of climate change, which you have also referred to. Which of them do you think that the government should focus on if we really want to get, fast and reduce that 26.5 million projection that the FAO has given?
I think when I see yourself, the ranking that you do, I don't know if you can have the first one that you put the food lost. It depends from one country and others, but in Nigeria, I think that we are between 50 and 60% of the food lost. Can you imagine? It's too much. From the production to the processing until that arrives to the market. That's why today we talk about agro-food system transformative. That's why we need to have a holistic approach, not from the farm to the plate, but to the plate to the farm. It's what we need to have now. So we need to focus on the post-harvest losses. Why? Because at least if you succeed to reduce by 50% the post-harvest losses, at least we can save or we can feed more people. That is one. Secondly, we need to add more added value on what you produce. We need to work on how we can process, how we can add, have the final product that we can give straight to the people, to eat. So for me, this is what we need to work on all the from the productions to the final product. It's that why we are now focused on agro-food system transformative now. So this is some things that we need to focus on, and that's why we FAO we are ready to support the government. Jointly, we are working.
All right,
with the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning.
Yeah. So it's good to know that the FAO is ready to work. But what area can the FAO assist? You know, you talk about post-harvest losses, reducing that and adding value to our crops. What area can we expect assistance from the FAO this year?
This year, we are focusing our approach that we call it on the 4 betters. The first one, we are focused on the better productions. The better production, that means that we have to give more resilient seeds and livestock to people to allow them to produce more. Giving fertilizer to allow them to produce more. Help the farmers, train them to choose a very good soil that can have a very good yields. That is the better productions. The second one is the better nutrition. Today, FAO, we are working and we are mainly on the prevention of nutrition. I don't know if you already heard about it, but this year will be the Tom Brown years. The Tom Brown is to use the local food, processing, and prevent malnutrition. So we are working together with the Commissioner of Health in Maiduguri to see how we can produce it. I just came from Yola, Maiduguri. I'm preparing myself to go to Lagos to see how we can work more on prevention using the Tom Brown as one of the key drivers of malnutrition production. So better nutrition. The third one is better environment. We need to have a very good environment to have a good productions. If you work hard on these 3 betters, we'll have a better life. The better life is to have the agribusiness, to work about transformative, to work what we call it the transformative agenda, to have people to work on innovations, use more technology to achieve the better life. So we have 2 categories of people. We are focusing on the people in need that they are to allow them to boost their production, but we are also focusing on the private sectors to help the private sector to better support to achieve these 4 betters. So this is one FAO we are trying to do this year in 2024 to achieve all of us the goal of zero hunger on 2030.
All right, thank you so much. We certainly will look forward to the FAO's contribution and in achieving, those 3 set out goals for 2024. Country representative of the Food and Agriculture Organization in Nigeria, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you very much again. Thank you for inviting me. It's one of the best channel in Nigeria. I wish all the people, all Nigerian people, all the best for 2024. And thank you again.